Hello everybody and welcome to our presentation. We're presenting the digitalization of the AE industry and its impact, and we're joined today by Mariana Macedo from BIM Experts and also BIMobject Brazil, correct? Hi Mariana, if you'd like to introduce yourself,
Yes.
Tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Yes, okay, I can do that. So my name is Mariana Macedo, and I work as a business developer for BIMobject Brazil. And also, currently, I'm a collaborator of BIM Experts. So now and then, I write something, and we intend to evangelize Brazilian towards BIM and all of this related subjects. So that's it. Yeah.
Okay, Mariana, you should be the presenter now. You can go ahead and show everybody.
Okay, wait a second. My screen is okay. Can you see my screen now?
Now, there it is.
Okay. So as probably most of you is present here, I will talk about the digitalization of the AEC industry and its impacts. I have presented myself earlier, so as most of you know, I am a BIMobject business developer in Brazil, and as I have already shared with you, I write every now and then at BIM Experts, which is a blog. And before we dig into the topic and know its impacts and get further on with this discussion, let's take a look first at the definition of digitalization and keep in mind that through the whole presentation. So digitalization is the use of digital technologies to change a business model and provide new revenue and value from producing opportunities. So that's really important, but why is this relevant to us? This is relevant, first of all, because as we all know, digitalization is all around us, and we should not regard it as isolated. In just a few years from now, if we don't already consider it as being our present scenario, everything will be digital and everything will be controlled by software. So even though this is true, when we take a look at this graphic that probably most of you know, we get kind of upset and disturbed because when we take a look at the top line, we can see all non-farm industries, which are not related to construction, having this boom, innovating and springing up and having larger productivity and increasing all the time. And us, from the construction industry, from the AEC industry, we have this flat line, this flat blue line way down. And our line, we can see it's stagnant. And if we take it really seriously, we can even say that our productivity is slowing down. So what does that makes us think? What does this really mean? It means that we are getting worse over time, because now more than ever we have more resources, we have more technology available, and we have all this knowledge that we have been storing for all these years, but it seems that we haven't learned from all of that. It seems that we have not only to have the technology available, but we need to learn how to implement those technologies to make changes. So we probably heard a lot of excuses or justifications for why this chart looks like this. So we can see that we can say that, for example, our policies, our security policies now are harsher than they have ever been, from they ever were 100 years ago. But that's no excuse. The safety should always improve. If we take a look, for example, at the automobilistic industry, they have also faced those policies and those changes, and they are still really, really productive and really, really competitive. So this is no excuse. If we think about another excuse that we make up for ourselves to make us feel better with this chart, is that mainly every building is a prototype and there's no such thing as two buildings being alike. But considering everything that's happening, and again, all the technology that is available, that's probably not the case. Because even though manufacturers have the chance to repeat the same project over and over and increase their productivity, we from the AEC industry, we still can standardize several procedures. We can learn from project to project. We can keep our data stored and we can see what elements we can keep doing the same way and what we can learn and what we can change. So the real problem of our industry is not what we have said before. The real problem that we face is that our processes are fragmented, old-fashioned, and with way too many stakeholders. So added to all this productivity and gains that I have already said, we have the environmental problem. So we have in our industry the responsibility for 40% of the total solid waste and CO2 emissions in our planet. So that's a lot. And we have 48 million tons of building waste produced each year by us. So how come do we still accept all this? Why are we so tolerant? It's all about improving our process. This shouldn't be common under no circumstance, as it's not. We don't need to accept this. We can make change. So considering that each year our urbanization is increasing and 1 million people move to cities every day, and that by 2050, 75% of the population will live in megacities, which means that 3 billion homes and all the support for living will need to be constructed. We need to ask ourselves, are we ready for this? Are we ready to face our environmental problems and our productivity problems, to face all these huge things that we need to supply, these huge needs that we need to supply? Are we ready for all this? If we're not ready to have a decent productivity and a decent impact in our world, other industries may be ready for it. And in this increased connected world that we live in, which other segments and niches are responsible for the disruption of other industries, there's no longer a safe place. So we can't think that we are the only ones that can disrupt our industries. There are other competitors coming ahead. If we take a look, for example, at what's happening with Tesla. Tesla was never an automotive center company. They are energy company, but still they have disrupted our automotive company, because they have these awesome cars with this electric power going on and everything's digital. So they are disrupting the automotive industry, but they are not automotive focused. The same happens, for example, with Uber. They were not at the beginning competitors from taxi because they were not uh, transportation industry. But even though with their platform they could disrupt this taxi industry. Airbnb too, it's another platform that was not from hospedation at the beginning, but with the platform that they offered, they were able to disrupt this industry. So we have to think about that we are not the only ones that knows that our industry needs a change. Other industries are taking a look for what we are doing right now. So it's not about engineers and architects anymore. Everyone is looking what we are doing and this huge gap that we have in our productivity and into our environment impacts. So considering that, the bigger the gap we have, so in terms of productivity and environmental impact, as I mentioned, the greater the gain, the value and the opportunities for those who solve the problems. So as I said, everyone is looking at us and what we are doing. So it's better for us if we are the ones that solve our own problems. So if we don't, we are going to get disrupted by others. So for that, to know how we can change our industry, it's good for us to take a look at the future. So what the future looks like for the AEC industry. As I have already mentioned, digitalization, it's what's ahead of us. Making predictions is kind of hard, but we can always look at the other industries that have passed through these changes. So let's first take a look at Boeing. Okay, so Boeing presented a wing assembly study because the wing assembly takes way too much time for them. So they ran this study with the Iowa State University, and in this study, they have got three control groups. And these three control groups were asked to assemble parts of a wing, and they were divided like this. So there was first this group, which had a desktop computer screen displaying a work instruction PDF. So every time the responsible for this assembly needed to get more information, he had to go to the computer, take a look at the PDF, and go back to make the assembly. The other group was responsible for making the assembly with a tablet. So in this tablet, they had instruction PDF, the same that there was present on the desktop. And with this PDF, he could walk around. So it was not fixed in a place, but it was still PDF. And finally, the third group carry a tablet with augmented reality software, showing the work, instructions, and all the guide steps with graphical overlays and everything that he needed to know. So they did this twice, the first time and the second time. And during that, everything was measured. So the quality was measured and the time was measured as well. So these were the results that they could get from it. So you can see that with the desktop, there was a huge amount of errors in the first time, and in the second time, it was reduced by half. Okay, so you can see that there is a lot from learning by doing, but if we consider the first time with a tablet with augmented reality in it, and the first time with the desktop, you can see more improvement than the learning by doing. So we can't use this kind of excuses. Imagine if you could get this kind of improvement on site, on the on the site of your construction. It would be amazing. So what they have witnessed was almost a 90% improvement in the first time assessment. So this is really significant. And now, if you take a look at the time from the first assembly to the second, there is a significant change. But if you take a look again at the first time with a desktop and the first time with a tablet with augmented reality, you can see an improvement of 30%. Now, try to imagine that in the construction industry. That's really awesome. So imagine if your schedule could be improved in 30% and the quality of your construction in 90%. So yes, as I said, there's a lot in learning by doing, but there's also a lot in using the right technology. So by saying in learning by doing, um, we can consider simulations, right? So we can see nowadays that's really common for flight simulations and for NASA simulations and all these industries that have high risks and human lives involved. They run several simulations. But why don't we run several simulations? The AEC industry has have lots of risks. Our industry have lots of human lives in danger. Our industry also have lots of um, resources involved and lots of things that are in this scenario. So why don't we do simulations? We have the technology necessary to train our staff in the field. We have technology for us to train ourselves on how to manage our constructions. BIM allow us to do 3D models, 4D models, 5D models, 6D models. We can simulate lots of things. So why don't we? Right? So that's something that we need to consider. If we can simulate our construction in this virtual environment, we can avoid risks, we can avoid costs, and we can avoid putting people into danger. So that's really important. So, of course, this is all really cool, but it's not about only being cool. It is about saving money. And because when you save money, it's not something that you will do only once. It's something that you will try to do all the time. So we have to think about in our ability to communicate. We have to be able to communicate in an environment where everyone can understand what's being done. And this is only the beginning. Imagine if we could be able to create a scenario with all the necessary information inputted and only ask the computer to simulate the best alternative and give us the best answer. This is what we can achieve. This is artificial intelligence, this is deep learning, and we are already doing that. In in June of 2012, so I'm talking here about like 5 years ago, so in 2012, a network of 60,000 computers trained itself to recognize a cat by looking at lots of pictures on YouTube. So it was done the same as we do to our children. So they had said several times that this was a cat, to the point that the computer was able to recognize that it was really a cat by the tip of the ear. So this technique seems kind of dumb saying like this, but it's not. It's a great accomplishment. Today, this technique is being used in everything from Google image searches to Facebook newsfeed algorithms. So uh, nowadays, this is really common, and it seems like not so impressive. But imagine this applied to our reality. imagine if you got this point cloud, and with the use of artificial intelligence and the input of several data and several catalogs, the computer itself could recognize that this is a beam of 60 centimeters tall, this is a pipe, this is a duct of HVAC. So imagine that you wouldn't have anymore to identify on the point cloud. It would be already done for you. Another thing that is quite impressive is generative design. So I will share with you this video because I think it's really worthwhile explaining what's generative design. So let's
I
say
could instead tell the computer that I wanted a chair that can support this much weight, weigh this much, cost this much, and produce something based on the material that I've chosen. The computer can then deliver to me thousands, if not millions of design options, all of which meet those criteria. And from those options, I can pick the one design that delivers on the most important criteria. And the one that I select might not even be the one that I could have imagined on my own. That's the promise of generative design. But why is it important? It's an entirely new way of doing things, and the benefits are potentially staggering. Unprecedented reductions in costs, development time, material consumption. The sky's the limit. And when we combine generative design with the emergence of new forms of manufacturing like 3D printing, we suddenly have access. Traditional manufacturing methods require you to make massive numbers of something just in order to be profitable. Small designers without access to production resources were simply out of luck. But now we can do a batch run of just one. The stage is being set for the reemergence of local manufacturing. Generative design extends beyond manufacturing. In fact, everything that's designed can be affected, including the built environment. How do you create an ideal floor plan? Through a balanced structures for material type, strength, and energy consumption, generative design promises a way to answer these questions and to create designs that avoid waste and control cost. So all that's great. What does this mean for the designer? Now they will co-create the technology, choosing the constraints and setting the goals. The software simply determines the most optimized way of achieving those goals. It's going to lead to astounding results. And that's generative design.
okay, so what we can see here? Well, we can see that the information is the main point. The fundamental the element to capture all this, it's information. So what we can do without it? Nothing, because augmented reality is based on real information, because we're talking about reality, so we have to simulate reality. So in order to simulate reality, we need the right information. The same with virtual reality and mixed reality, and so on and so on. BIM, we need information. The central element of BIM is information. So in order to get all this thing going, we need the right information at the right time. And so, because why is that? Because information generates knowledge, and it's the knowledge that it's able to make us make better decisions. So only with all this we can solve the problems in the model and not on the construction site. And it's by simulating and solving problems in this time that we can actually save money and save our world. So this is really where we need to focus. We need to focus on information because that's what we need to do. But considering the life we live in right now, this is kind of harsh because we have all this data spread all over the internet, and it's not always the way that we want to get it. We need something that is ready for us to use it. So that's where you need to know where you're getting your information from, because it needs to be consistent, it needs to be accurate. That's why we need all the supply chain of the AEC industry working together. It's not only about architects, it's not only about engineers, it's not about contractors, it's not about only manufacturers, it's about all of us. We're on this together. So we need to work on the consistency of data through all of our supply chain. So for this, what we can think about also is that our information and our properties are increasing over time because we need to accomplish better things. We need to solve efficiency problems, we need to solve performance problems, we need to be environmental correct, we have to have a high productivity, we have to accomplish several things. And for all that, um, the objects that we use, the elements that we use in our construction, they have this amount of information that is growing each day. And how can we keep up to date? This is really hard. This is the question that we face every day. How can I keep my reading list up to date? How can I keep my goals up to date? Because that's something that changes all the time. But when we're talking about our projects, that's something that we get really worried because we want to make a positive impact. So the solution is to work with products that are consistent in data. You have to work with products that are from real manufacturers that represent real products, because if our buildings are made by real elements, we have to work in the project the same way. So we have to work with details like the other industries. Because if you take a look at the automotivity industry and the naval industry and all the other non-construction, non-farm industries and not related with construction, all of those, they work with these little tiny details of assembly. Why don't we? We need to do that. So we need to worry about details, and we need to work with quality of data, because only if you work with assured quality of data and certified information, you can get the really not the you can get secure knowledge. Because what happens is, imagine if you get information that you don't know where it's coming from just or you assemble an object that you are not sure of the information that you're using, and you pass on your model to the contractor. So let's say the contractor is using your model for all the life cycle of the building, so for the construction and for the facilities management. So let's say that in the facility management, he checks that the presentation that you did of performance of the building, it's not accurate. And it's not accurate, but you can't figure out why, and he can't either. And then you remember, oh, I haven't quite used the same that was used during the construction phase. So the use of real products from real manufacturers is to assure that the model that you're providing to the contractor, it's really going with the right data, and it's really having the performance that will happen as soon as it's built. So when we are talking about quality of data and certified information, those are the main points for you to be able to simulate and for you to reproduce reality from the most accurate way that's possible. So um, again, it's all about solving problems in your computer and not on the site. So um, as you could probably see until now, I haven't used much of the word BIM in the whole presentation. And you're probably wondering why. I've done that because I wanted to present you the global picture in which BIM is inserted. Because when we say BIM, usually people tend to think about something that is contained into a software or into our architects and engineers processes, when actually it's not. BIM is not contained. When we talk about BIM, we're talking about a digital process, a business process driven by data that goes through the construction sector. So I told you a lot about data and what we can accomplish from data that is consistent and accurate. And that's what we should focus on. We should focus on the information that we are providing, how we are providing it. So the point that I wanted you to all get from what's happening in the future and the digitalization is that we need more accurate and reliable data and information. With Because with only these elements, we can optimize our communication flow. And only this way we can get better results. If we don't work with this information process, we are not doing any better than we were doing before. Because it's the precision that you have on projects that enables you to have more efficient practices and better risk control, because that's what happens in other industries. Like I've shared with you the assembly of the wing, but can you imagine the assembly of a car? Yeah, it's the same way. So this is one example of what we can achieve. So this project, it's called Lifecycle Tower 1, and it was done by Cray. Cray have accomplished this, and it's really incredible. They have done this with a building team of only 5 workers. They have assembled this whole building in only 8 days, and it's 8-floor building. So why don't we do the same? If they have accomplished it, we can accomplish it too. You know, it's all about using the right processes and using the technology that is available and using accurate data and focusing on communication and information. So also they could do this because they really assembled the building. The building was not built. The building was assembled. So they worked with prefabricated elements, and they only got to decide to assemble it. But it was so perfect because they have run several simulations. And we have to do the same if we want to get the same results. Imagine you getting a building done in only 8 days with only 5 workers. This is huge, and we can do that. But in order to do that, as I said, we must focus on information delivery. We need the right information at the right time and use the technology that is available. It's all about it. So moving on, I'm showing this chart again for us to have a glimpse of what we're doing right now. Seeing all this that was accomplished by other industries and by our own industries, why don't we change? We have this huge gap between us and the manufacturers. Why? We, from the construction industry, we have built amazing things. We have built amazing buildings. We have made hospitals, we have made highways, we've made houses, and it's really beautiful. Seeing that, us architects, engineers, and designers, we can say we build the world. And in my opinion, we have what it takes to change our industry. So why don't we? Why don't we use augmented reality, virtual reality, artificial intelligence, and BIM? All of these can help us, and we really have what it takes. But we have to do it fast But not only fast, we have to do it with quality. And that's the focus. Always guaranteeing our communication and information smoothly and uninterruptedly through all the chain. We have to do that. But we only can do this together and if everyone commits to this goal. Because if we don't have a planet B to run away. Okay, so this is really concerning. And if this is too complex and fast for you, this whole change, you can slow down, but don't oversimplify things. Don't go back. Don't run away from it because this is really going to affect us all. It's already affecting us all. Okay, so this was the message that I wanted to leave you guys. Um, that the biggest risk that we have right now, it's not taking any risks. Because as I said, other industries are looking at us and they are looking at our productivity and our environmental impact and they are willing to make a change. But it's better for us to move first. We need to change things, not accept the way things are happening right now. So I think that's it, Justin. Thank you all for coming here and please let's save the planet together.
Thank you, Mariana. We already have one question from Susan Kramer. She asked, why aren't people jumping on these systems? Is the technology daunting?
Okay. What's the question? Sorry.
Yeah, why aren't people jumping on these systems? Is the technology daunting?
I think people are not jumping into adopting technology because we at the construction industry, we tend to think that we are kind of isolated, right? We kind of make excuses for ourselves and we say that it's too expensive to invest. We don't see ourselves in a macro way. We tend to see ourselves as a industry with special characteristics that doesn't let us adopt this kind of innovation. So yeah, we need to definitely change this culture first, this mindset. If we are able to evangelize people from the construction industry and make them see that it can be accomplished, then probably they will start jumping off. So it's a matter of having people showing what they are doing and what's possible to be done, like I have shown Cree.
Okay, I'm gonna do a brief presentation on our Global BIM Management Certification Program, and we'll give people another chance to ask more of their questions. So I'll present very quickly, just a couple of minutes, and then we'll open it up to some questions. So if you have any questions, you can go ahead and submit them through the GoToWebinar platform,
Okay.
and we'll to take care of your questions once we finish this. Okay, so I just want to take this moment to thank everybody for attending. We had 109 people who registered for this presentation, and people came from all over the world. We have people here from North America, from Russia, from India, Bulgaria, really from all over the world, even some people who are up late watching this right now in Asia. So thank you all for coming. So a bit about Zigurat. We're a global institute for architects, engineers, owners, and developers, and we've been serving the eco industry for 15 years now by providing different qualifications, master classes, and postgraduate courses. We have over 40 programs in 3 different languages. Right now we have programs in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. And soon we'll be releasing our programs in French. So if you're interested in French programs, keep an eye out for that. This is a brief timeline of the company. Like I said, we've been around for over 15 years and we've always been involved in the architecture industry. So We're a very trusted and recognized name in the industry, and this is how we come up with our programs. We find a market demand that's currently not being met. Usually the reason for this is because there are university programs that are out that are similar to ours, but our programs aren't meant to replace a university program. Usually after a university program, there's a gap in knowledge, and that gap is usually expected to be made up by your future employer. So by them providing additional training. And here at Zigurat, our belief is that we really want to give all of our participants in our programs all of the skills that are necessary to be successful and directly enter into the competitive international job market with no additional training required from their employer. And here on this graph, you can see the left side is it's a kind of orange mustardish color. That's a traditional university academic program. Usually they focus more on scientific investigation, research, theory. And then in the middle, you can see where our programs kind of intersect is when they teach some of the professional software and technologies. Normally these university programs don't go very in depth with their explanation of these softwares and how to use them. But we teach you how to use all of the software that's required to be successful. And we also go further with it and teach real practical work-related case studies and projects. And the main focus in our programs are the international collaborative projects that you'll be working on with the other participants. And this is the average participant profile. So normally our participants are between the ages of 30 and 45 years old with 5 or more years experience in the architecture, engineering, construction industry. Note that this isn't a requirement, this is just the average age of our participants. So what this means is that as opposed to a university program where most of the students and participants are between the ages of 22 and 25, we have a much older average participant profile, and these are really working professionals, and that's who you'll be working with on all of your international collaborative projects. So it's not a university setting, it's a work setting, and that's really what we try to emulate is real-world workflows when you're working on these projects with the other participants. We have professors from all over the world. Here are just a list of some of our current professors for our English programs. They're all very globally recognized and influential people. If you'd like to find out more information about our professors, you can look on our website. We have a brief biography of each of the professors that are involved in our programs. And we're really proud that we're able to bring in such influential professors. And all of our professors are adjunct professors, meaning they don't work for Zigurat full-time. They work full-time in the field, in their respective fields of specialization, and they teach part-time at Zigurat. And what this means for you is that you're learning from industry-recognized, influential professors who really know what's expected and what's needed to be successful when you enter into the workforce. So these are some of the profiles of BIM knowledge. It's important to note some people go through our catalog and they get a bit confused about BIM coordinator, BIM specialist, BIM expert, BIM manager, which course should I take? These aren't different courses. These are all different levels of knowledge of BIM that you'll learn by going through our Global BIM Management Certification program. So after the first 2 modules, you already have all of the knowledge necessary to work as a BIM expert. And then the following 2 modules, after those, you'll have all the knowledge to work as a BIM manager. And finally, there's 3 modules of specialization, 1 in sustainability, 1 in facility management, and 1 in digital fabrication. So that's really related to this presentation right now, the seminar. There's a big need right now for BIM managers to be working within the manufacturing industry, within the prefabrication industry, and the development of BIM objects and families is very important right now. So we added that extra module of specialization, so you really have more options after completing our program. As I said, we also have programs in Spanish and Portuguese. This edition of the Global BIM Management Certification Program is the first edition of the program, but we've had 5 editions already in Spanish and 1 edition in Portuguese of the International Master in BIM Management. These programs have the same core content as the Global BIM Management Certification Program, but the global program is obviously in English. It has some extra modules of specialization, and it's in English, so you'll be able to gain experience working in an international environment where English is required, and that's what a lot of our participants were asking for, so we've developed this program specifically for you. And these are the 2 programs that we have in English right now, the Global BIM Management Certification Program and the BIM for Owners and Developers Global Executive Program. The main difference between these 2 programs is that the BIM for Owners and Developers Global Executive Program is targeted towards owners and developers. So somebody who wants to implement BIM from an executive standpoint. So someone who's implementing BIM from an executive standpoint might not need to know things like the basics of the use of software and things like that. So it's not, it doesn't go so in depth with the software and things like that. It tells you what kind of experts you need to bring into your business in order to make a BIM implementation successful, how to create a BIM execution plan, etc. The Global BIM Management Certification Program really provides a global scope of the knowledge that's necessary to be successful in BIM implementation. So you'll learn all of the different softwares, how they interoperate and integrate within one another. And you'll also learn different management techniques and how to implement BIM, how to execute BIM and manage BIM in every phase of a construction project, from 2D and 3D modeling to measurements, scheduling, planning, cost estimation, budgets, quantity takeoffs, energy analysis and efficiency studies and sustainability, facility management and operations, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, structural, and collision detection and resolution, and a lot more. So the program was developed by our academic partner, BIM Freelance. The program is led by the directors, Gustavo Ferrero and Antonio Tort, and they're also the directors of the program in Spanish, so they have the experience and they've brought it forward and developed this program specifically for a global audience. And they brought in many referential professors who they wouldn't have been able to bring into their Spanish programs because of the language barrier. But now, since we have this program in English, we've been able to bring in so many really influential professors, and that's what really sets this program apart. So like I said before, after completing the first 2 modules, you already have all the knowledge necessary to work as a BIM expert. Then after the next 2 modules, you'll have all of the knowledge necessary to work as a BIM manager. And then we have modules of specialization, 1 for sustainability, 1 for facility management, and 1 for digital fabrication. So if you want to take a more in-depth look at these topics and exactly what they include in each of them, you can take a look at our program brochure. In the academic content section, it lists all of these modules and what's involved in them. And also, if you don't have the program brochure, you can go and request it through our website. So in our program, we have 4 different program paths to choose from, which are based on the 4 main BIM authoring softwares. So you have Revit from Autodesk, Allplan from Nemetschek, ArchiCAD from Graphisoft, and EcoSim from Bentley. In this program, we require you to choose at least 2 of these program paths, but you have the freedom to complete all 4 if you wish. And you can add or drop program paths at your convenience as long as you maintain the minimum of 2. And so you also learn more than 20 different other softwares and how they integrate and interoperate between each other. And like I said, it covers every single phase of a construction project. So it's really useful information. Even if you're not necessarily going to use these individual softwares, it's good to know in a project when to use it, who you need to bring in, what type of experts you need to bring in from the outside, etc. So the main focus on in this program is on the international collaborative projects. Usually you're going to be working in 2 groups with 5 or 6 people in each group, and we try to put an emphasis on making these groups as multidisciplinary as possible. So you won't just have a whole group of architects. You'll have a group with an architect, a manufacturer, an engineer, etc. So you'll be working on these projects from the very first week of the program, and these are how you get the practical knowledge that's going to make you successful when you enter into competitive workforce. So we simulate real-world workflows. Everything's done on the cloud, and we give you feedback, and everything is, all the lectures and presentations of the program are all broadcasted live online. If you're not available to watch them live, everything's recorded and then put onto our program, onto our